pasaditaha. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. At eva, therefore, swayam yourself, tat that, upakalpaya, please arrange, asmakam of us, bhagavataha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramaguru, the Supreme Spiritual Master, Tav of you, Charan of the feet, Shatapalasat, like lotus flowers with hundreds of petals, Shayam, the shade, Vivid, various, Vrijina, with dangerous physician, Sansar, of this conditioned life, Parishram, the pain, Upashamanim, relieving, Upashatanam, the devotees who have taken shelter at your lotus feet, Vayam, we, Yat, for which, Kamena, are the desires, Upasaditaha, caused to come near, the shelter of your lotus feet. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dear Lord, you are omniscient and therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet, which provides shade that gives relief from all material disturbances. Since you are the Supreme Spiritual Master and you know everything, we have sought shelter of your lotus feet for instruction. Please give us relief by counteracting our present distress. Your lotus feet are the only shelter for a fully surrendered devotee and are the only means for subduing all the tribulations of this material world. Puppet by His Divine Grace Sharabhat ki jai. One need only seek shelter of the shade of the Lord's lotus feet. Then all the material tribulations that disturb him will be subdued. Just as when one comes under the shadow of a big tree, the disturbances caused by the heat of the scorching sun are immediately mitigated, without one's asking for relief. Therefore, the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord. The conditioned soul suffering from various tribulations because of existing in this material world can be relieved only when he seeks shelter at the Lord's lotus feet. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyan Anjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmiltam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanus Te Devi Pranamami Hari Priyai. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमाम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. Dear Lord, you are omniscient and therefore you know very well why we have taken shelter at your lotus feet, which provides shade that gives relief from all material disturbances. Since you are the Supreme Spiritual Master and you know everything, we sought shelter of your lotus feet for instruction. Please give us relief by counteracting our present distress. Your lotus feet are the only shelter for a fully surrendered devotee and are the only means for subduing all the tribulations of this material world. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, which is called as the prescribed duties of the mankind, chapter 9, which is called as the appearance of the demon.
Demon Vidyasura.
Do you remember the name of chapter 8? Every day I ask the name of chapter. Do you remember the name of the chapter 8?
Mathaji.
Who remembers the name of chapter 8?
Appearance of
what, Mathaji?
Narayana Kavacham, Mathaji. Narayana Kavacham.
The Narayan Kavacha shield. Okay, so this particular verses, I think until I have to see until verse 45 maybe, there is a prayer going on to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and the demigods have already put across their petition to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that they are seeking relief and protection from the turmoil caused by the son of Twashta, which is Vritrasura. And they are glorifying Krishna, and they are validating that why Krishna is the only shelter that they have, and there is no one else who can actually give them relief from this great calamity which has come about in front of them at the moment. So we have been reading that how they're glorifying Krishna with so much awe and reverence, so much Aishwarya Bhav is there. And they're also feeling, yesterday we read, little guilty that they're asking for protection, because Krishna already knows, God knows that the devotee needs what are the devotee's needs. But they are still putting a petition like that. So there Prabhupada was explaining that different kind of devotees, different kind of people come to Krishna for different reasons. We study in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, there are 4 kinds of people who come to Krishna or God, and they're not pure devotees, but because they have come to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for some reason or the other, they are pious. Okay, at least they are pious, and if they continue like that, then there is a great chance for them to become a pure devotee later in life. Now here we are understanding that they're again giving a reason that Krishna, you're omniscient, means that you know everything that's happening everywhere in every nook and corner, omniscient. So you are inside, you're outside. So that is why we have taken shelter of you. But you see how the thing is worded, that they are asking for relief from all material disturbances. Okay, they're not asking for them to become a pure devotee of Krishna so that they can serve Krishna in the topmost level of bhakti or pure devotion service. So this is what they're asking, and this is what they will get. Okay, but understand, this is the point to understand that what makes different kinds of grades of devotees around us. It's not that Krishna is partial. Krishna is not partial, but we are asking Krishna different things. Okay, so rather than looking outward, that who is going where in their Krishna conscious journey, we have to look inside. So it is inside out journey. Okay, so from inside, look outside. That am I progressing? Yesterday, someone was asking, how do I know if I'm progressing in Krishna consciousness or not? We can look within us how much faith we have developed, how much conviction we have developed, how much enthusiasm we have developed, how much commitment we have developed to follow the process of Krishna consciousness. Right, the process is given. Prabhupada said that chant 16 rounds, follow 4 regular principles, take initiation in the parampara, associate with the devotees, progress in Krishna consciousness. How much of all these things are we doing defines what is our standing in our own commitment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is no point in looking at anyone else, because Krishna wants everyone. It's not like a material competition, because the mind will pick up those signals, right? Because of the material conditioning. But it's not that. But the point is that Krishna wants to claim each one of us. So each one of us, if we want to go to Krishna, we will be given the circumstances by which we can go, regardless of who else have it or who else doesn't have it. We will be given the circumstances. Okay, if we are not given the circumstances, it's not that because my karma is acting. It's not, because karma and Krishna consciousness don't go hand in hand. It's different. Oil and water don't mix. Krishna consciousness has nothing to do with anyone's material background or even material body or circumstances. So it is a very encouraging verse, because we see that there are certain kinds of judgments that one can make about each other or our own self, right? But here we are understanding that Krishna is omniscient, and we understand how Krishna is omnipotent, omnipresent. He's everywhere. He knows everything. He's inside, he's outside, and he can actually take care of each one of us. So it is better to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada is saying, therefore, the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, that is the whole concern. So how the acharyas have this ability and skill to make us focus on to the most important. right? The most important thing in a human form of life is to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Everything else is secondary. Now, that's a principle-based statement. Understand, Rector of Devotion explains it very well. Principle-based statement is this. Now, how it is going to happen, the detail, when it is going to happen, what are the methodologies to be adopted for it to make it happen is a detail. But why principle is given primary emphasis is because one needs to accept the principle first. That this is my only goal. Everything else that's happening, coming, going. I was reading today my friend's article. I was reading Chilshakti's article on spiritualizing digital media. So she was writing, it was such a nice writing. She was writing that, you see, we try to our mind tries to make something normal based on where we are placed. Okay, so for example, if somebody is placed in the company of people who are drinking alcohol, so it is very normal in that association to drink alcohol. But if I place myself in the association of devotees who are trying to be Krishna conscious, is the same activity normal in that association? The same activity is normal?
No.
It is not normal. So she was saying that our mind picks up these stimuli from the environment where we are, and then it presents a picture of what's normal, what's not normal. Basically, she was saying that we are normalizing the overuse of digital media and normalizing the, how one gets just completely absorbed in mindless scrolling. We are normalizing it because everyone around us is doing it. But is it really normal? So that is why this is a relative picture of something, of a so-called reality. This is a power of illusion. She was basically talking about illusion, but relative picture of the so-called reality. So how do we know, is this how we want to lead our life? Like relatively normal, relatively bad, relatively good, relatively maybe take shelter of Krishna, relatively maybe take shelter of something else, or why do I take shelter of anyone else? Because if I'm sick, doctor has a medicine. If I am uneducated, university has education. If I am doing my work and I'm getting paid, I have money. So why do I have to? See, that's relative, relative, relative. So the absolute vision is given by the Shastras, Guru Sadhu Shastra principle. And the absolute vision is that a conditioned soul concern should be to how to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. This is a principle based. That is why there is so much emphasis given in accepting the principle first. Okay, now the detail that comes along with this will actually unfold itself depending on how much of the tattva or how much of the principle one has accepted. If you read the chapter in Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is writing, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that, for example, the chanting 16 rounds and following 4 regulatory principles is same. It's a principle-based statement. But how are we going to chant? What are the details of each and every principle for each and every individual practicing Krishna consciousness? That has to be discussed with one spiritual master. So that's detail. Okay, so this is the principle-based statement that therefore the whole concern of the conditioned soul should be should be the lotus feet of the Lord. If we don't have that, then whatever we have is actually very temporary. It's like, have you ever seen that hourglass with the sand? Like you turn it and then the sand comes down in a particular time period. Have you ever seen that hourglass? Yeah, have you ever seen that hourglass? Like it has a sand on one end and then you turn it and then the sand comes inside from top to bottom.
Yes,
You
yes,
see?
yes, Mataji. Yes, yes.
So you're understanding what I'm saying. So like that, it's like whatever we have without the Lord's shelter, the Lord's lotus feet is like that analogy, like hourglass. the sand is dripping down from top to bottom. It's just a matter of time when everything we have is actually, just time is going to take it away, because time brought it. So it will take it away also, right? It brought it. So in the same way, so understand that in this constantly changing environment that we are in, only Krishna consciousness remains same. There is nothing else that will remain same. Sometimes I used to get this impulse of anger that why can't my friend remain the same as we were many years ago. But then one day I was like, even I have changed, right? I'm like, my body has changed, everything has changed, thinking has changed. So why should somebody else remain the same? So in that manner, but there is only one thing which does not change. So under any circumstances, if we have to be 100% right, 100% right, and not be mistaken under any circumstances of any position in any point in our life, then that's chanting Hare Krishna. That's like the inherent quality of this particular practice, that it'll never be wrong. We will never be wrong if we are really going to Krishna, which needs to be confirmed. It has to be like, not like a mental speculation, but it'll never be a wrong step. It'll never be a step that we'll have to ever regret in our life looking back, right? The old people, if you sit with old people all day long, I'm not saying 100% of the old people all across the world are doing it. No, most of the old people who old matlab like in their jara age, most of them, if they have not worked on their Krishna consciousness earlier in life, and they don't have the interest of developing Krishna consciousness at that point in their life also, I've seen so many, and it is across the globe. It is not even like one region dependent. All they have to talk about is about their life. What were the losses and what were the gains? All they talk about is this. All they talk. You can go to old age home, you sit with them. Like how did they get married? How did they started earning money? What were the conditions of their life when they were living? Because this is where the consciousness is, the mind has picked up, but the time factor has taken it away now. The time factor has taken it away, but the impression stays in the mind. So see how dangerous it is? How dangerous it is. Such a miserable situation one can be in. And but we have Srila Prabhupada. Now, Srila Prabhupada, once we had a session with the one who made the movie, Swami Mantra, what's the name? Vishakha Mataji and her husband. We had a session with the husband. I don't remember the name. Yadubara Prabhu. Yadubara Das. Yeah. So we had a session with him, and he was saying that at that time, they were actually going through all of Prabhupada's writings to answer questions that how many times has Prabhupada spoken about his spiritual master, and how many times has Prabhupada spoken about his own life, like how he was married and how he had children, how he was a businessman, and how he took sannyas, and how he had heart attacks, and how much pain was he in, all this. So we're saying we were analyzing, looking at all of Srila Prabhupada's writing, Srila Prabhupada's lecture, each and every one of them, which is available with Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. And he said the ratio is amazing. You cannot even compare, like how much Prabhupada has spoken about his own self and how much Prabhupada has spoken about his Guru Maharaj. So this is the sign of a spiritually elevated personality. This is our benchmark. This is what we want to be when we are at that stage of life, or if we are at that stage of life, this is what we want to be. So my only concern is, how should I take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord? There is no other concern. I am not saying we don't take care of our life practically, but we take care of it. Take care. We don't get succumbed That's not the goal of life. We don't get consumed by daily, chores. Okay, if there's an emergency. One time there was this discussion between Anuttama Prabhu and one Mataji who runs Karuna Care. They both are Prabhupada disciples. Says, you see, when we joined Krishna consciousness, when Prabhupada was there, then they were saying to us that when we joined Krishna consciousness, we were just fully plugged into the moment. But later, we did realize that the family was ignored. The children were born, but they were not very well kept. So there was some sort of guilt. So said that we realized that we have to take care of our responsibilities at the same time that we are cultivating our Krishna consciousness. And we realize that in case there's an emergency, let's say somebody's house, God forbid, is on fire, it's not that you have to chant 16 rounds now, you have to take care of it, what's in front. Nevertheless, always knowing every single day of the year, practicing that my aim is to become Krishna conscious. My aim is to go and enter into the Damodar Leela, right? Not the so-called this thing of the interactions, emotional interactions in this world. It's not going to give me the complete satisfaction. I was hearing Bhagavadam's class on Nectar of Devotion, and he was I don't recall the name, but he was explaining that how Nectar of Devotion is based on, how a very famous dramatical writer in Sanskrit, how they use different kinds of parameters to show different emotional exchanges between different characters that makes the audience very tied up. So similarly, the Krishna's pastimes, what ties up the devotees in the pastime is the emotional interaction that Krishna has with each one of them. I think in Damodar Lila we relish that, don't we? What Krishna is going to do next with his mother. Everyone, even the birds are relishing that. I think I'll stop here. So understand that taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet is my only concern. Doesn't mean I'm going to run away from everything and hide out and chant in seclusion. No, it means that I am going to always keep my ultimate goal in the front, and everything else is just going to be around it. The center is Krishna consciousness. Also understand that that is the only thing that we'll never go wrong in. Okay, we go wrong in so many things every day, but that is the only thing that we'll never go wrong in. And if we are taking a step towards Krishna, that step will never be a wrong step. Okay. Any questions, reflections?